This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
And welcome back, everybody. You know, the things you learn once you start talking with somebody. So we've gotten together here a number of times, and I know her as a massage therapist. She runs deep in all different types of massage, therapeutic, and on and on and on. Then I come to find out that she also is a Reiki practitioner, energy healer. Had no idea until about a minute ago before we got on here. So we're going to talk about this thing called Reiki and this thing called energy, and how if you're feeling a little funky or a little off, this could be a game changer for you, speaking from experience. Joining us today is Kathryne McCracken on the program from South Carolina. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
So happy to hear that you do Reiki. Are you a Reiki master?
Yes, I've been a Reiki master teacher since 2010. Yeah.
I had no
Yeah, it's
idea.
kind of a funny story. I first learned about Reiki when I was in massage school. We had a Reiki master come in
Sure.
and tell us about it. And so the day I was taking my national boards, I said, "Look, I've been studying for this for 11 months. I know all the information. I'm not going to cram." I got a 2 hour Reiki session from him. I got the highest score in the history of the test. So, yeah.
Wow.
And then so I went up and I took my first class in Somerville, South Carolina, in a hot pink Victorian mansion. And I mean, haunted, of course. So it was really great fun. I did level one and two, and we were all novices. And then I said a couple months later that I think I need a tune-up. So I went and did it again, and I was with professional psychics and with masters who were getting a reattunement. So it's so interesting how the right people come together for Reiki at the right time. And then about a year later, I decided it was time for me to take my master's attunement, and I wanted to take it with Bill Rand, who's the founder of the International Center for Reiki Training. And so I looked to see where he was offering classes. And sure enough, there was a class in my hometown, Portland, Oregon. And so I was like, oh, I got to do it. But I already had a ticket to go home and see my dad for his birthday like 2 weeks later. So I said, all right, universe, if it's time for me to do this Reiki thing, you let me know. I'm going to the movies. So I came out of the movies and there was a praying mantis sitting on the windshield of my car. I escorted the little fella off, went home, dialed up praying mantis animal totem, and the first thing that came up is the praying mantis is the animal totem of Reiki masters. So that was the universe saying, you go, girl.
I believe in all of that.
Hmm.
And even the word Reiki, which we're going to get into, and we're also going to talk about energy in a moment and what this all is. But the word Reiki, I remember I was in high school and I was a camera operator at a cable station, and there was this kooky lady doing Reiki live on TV. And I'm like, I don't know what this is. You know, I'm getting credit for school and it's cool. I'm in a studio and working on things. Fast forward years after that, you mentioned psychics. I worked with a very high level psychic, very notable person, launched a website, metaphysical website, worked with him on that for a little while. And this Reiki thing kept coming up and tarot and all of that. And I believed in the psychic thing and energy to a point, but never really dove into the water until I started doing podcasts with people like you. And that's where I learned the power of Reiki
Yeah.
and how it can change your life. And it's all because of this thing called energy. So why don't we go there? And everything is energy, right? Everything.
Yes.
This pen, the chair you're on, the curtains in back of you, everything is energy.
Every atom has a vibrational frequency. So, yes, everything is energy. And it's always bugged me when conventional medicine is saying there's no energy, there's no bioenergy field. Then I'm like, why do you test the heart with an electrocardiogram? Why do you test the brain with an electroencephalogram? Why do you test the nerves and muscle fibers with the electromyelogram? Because you're testing the energy as it runs through it and how it's functioning.
Why did I ever think of that?
You know?
But
Yeah, this is
yes.
the conversations that I've had with some medical professionals that, yeah, well, Then you explain your end.
Well, okay, but the other part of it is Reiki, i.e., energy healing. They now do it in some surgical suites to support the patients and the doctors for the best outcome. And I believe, and I hear this from medical professionals, they would be doing it a lot more. Why don't they? It's not that they don't believe in it. It's that insurance companies have a thing about extra people like yourself, Reiki master, being in the surgical suite where something could go, if somebody else is in there. That's why, your family member is not in there during surgery. It's
Mhm.
only who needs to be in there. But I think that's going to be changing. I think it's
It
going to
is
change.
changing. In fact, one of my best friends who I met in the training in Portland, and it was so funny during break, we're introducing ourselves. Where are you from? Nobody in Oregon knows Hilton Head. So I said, in a small island off the Georgia, South Carolina coast. She comes up to me and says, Hilton Head? Oh, I've been vacationing there every year since 1972. And I was
Wow.
like, okay, yeah, we were definitely meant to meet. And she came down and we taught our first class together. And so it was one of those, the universe wanted to bring us together and energy. And so she ended up volunteering at a cancer center where she would give people Reiki while they were receiving their chemotherapy. And it really, really helped because your body is under absolute attack. So your fight or, I mean, you're getting poisonous chemicals pumped into you. And so it helps to keep the autonomic nervous system calm so it doesn't have the same nauseating reactions and painful reactions that it does to the chemicals. And wonderfully enough, actually, the Cleveland Clinic, one of the most respected medical centers in America,
Mm.
how medicines have code blue, code red, they have a code lavender. And
Really?
code lavender means send me a Reiki practitioner or send a massage therapist. And they are on call and available to help not just patients, but caregivers, doctors, nurses, staff, all of the above. Code lavender.
Thank you for sharing that. That's super cool. And you
Yeah.
know what? I'm going to say this even before we continue. Your energy is amazing. It really is. Like I feel your positivity, and I don't know, yeah, if it's Reiki or whatever you're doing, but it really is. I feel it every time we get
Oh,
together.
thank you.
It,
Well, my first experience with Reiki came like long before I actually learned what it was. Like I said, I'm from Portland, Oregon. I grew up at Oregon Episcopal School, and in 1986 there was a terrible tragedy where 9 people died on Mount Hood, and those were my schoolmates and teachers. And it was May of 86, and basically school was closed for the rest of the year, and all we did was go to memorial services and so forth. And I remember I was in the cathedral at the third service, and I was so angry that this happened. I was just seething with anger. And it was like all of a sudden, just Dr. Yusui, when he received the Reiki attunement in 1921, was, meditating under a waterfall. And honest to goodness, it felt like I had this waterfall of white light pour into my head, like I was standing under a waterfall. And I immediately was blessed with this just calm white light, so soft, so beautiful. I felt like I could float.
Send it over here. That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh,
So that's why I really, once I found out about Reiki, I said, okay, this is your path. And even I remember when I was in preschool, Sunday school, the teacher talking about healing with your hands. And I was like precocious little kid, said, oh, I want to do that, go back to my toys. But, and
but
so ultimately, as I look back on my path, here I am.
um, you probably were raking things and didn't even know it at that time, i.e., sending positive energy to them. Um,
Uh-huh.
and you know, what is energy? So, do you ever go to a party and you walk in there and everybody's like, I don't know, this. I feel like they're cranky, they're grouchy. I don't know.
Mhm.
I'm going to say I got a text and I got to get out of here. Yeah, it's been great. I got to go. Or you walk into a party and it just feels right. It's just like
Yeah.
a nice thing going on there. People are happy. You're just feeling something. That's the collective energy of the people in the room. Good energy, bad energy, and we feel it and we pick up on it, right?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. You'll walk by somebody and you'll just I want to get to know you. Who are you? Or you'll walk by somebody and you'll be like, I'm gonna cross the street to get away from that thing. And
Hmm.
it's absolutely, we have a whole bioenergy field and it expands far beyond us. With the Reiki, we train how to sense the bioenergy field and sense the aura and treat within the different levels of the aura and treat the chakras, even though that is relatively new to Reiki. Traditional Reiki, taught by Dr. Yusui, the founder, was just basically peaceful, hands-on healing. And what, in my experience, it does is it just stops the stress, just
Mm,
calms it down. It's like a 1 hour vacation, you know?
yeah. Yeah. What do people tell you when they finish up a session, a Reiki session with you?
Oh, a whole bunch of different things. It's just one thing I'm very specific about is I know a lot of Reiki practitioners who get in there and are like, I'm going to clean your energy and I'm going to find your spirit animal and I'm going to da 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 da. Whenever you're doing that, your ego is stepping in the way of the Reiki. So I train my students. We are clear and open channels for the Reiki to flow through us for the highest and greatest good, period, the end, for as long as it is for the highest and greatest good. So if sometimes people ask me, did you get any messages? I'm like, well, I intend that it goes directly to you because if it's coming from me, it's coming from my paradigm. And so it may not resonate as much with you as if I'm telling you the story. It's best if it comes directly from spirit.
Mm. I've tested this a number of times where I will walk somewhere from the car to the parking lot and into a building, and I'll say to myself, raise your vibration, raise it up intentionally,
Mhm.
thinking, bring that vibration up, bring that up. And I'll walk into like the gym. I've done this a bunch of times. And I'm thinking that positive energy, which transmits from us, people I see all the time don't even know their names. There's this one walkway area to get to wherever you want to go, and you pass people. When I do that, people look at me and say, "Hey, good morning. How you doing? Hey, how's it going? Hi, hey, how are you?" I don't have like a cheesy grin on. I'm not doing anything different. And I know it's because I raise my vibration and they picked up on it. Does that sound crazy?
Not crazy at all, because by raising the vibration, it's almost like saying namaste or, the peace inside me respects the peace inside you, and that's what it is. It's just spreading the love.
So I want to ask you, when doing Reiki sessions with somebody, do you get something? Do you have you ever gotten signal signs, information that you shared with them?
If they specifically ask if I get anything, then I'll pay attention to that. Otherwise, I really want it to go directly from spirit to them without me trying to, figure out how to verbalize something in my own limited vernacular.
Have you gotten any like visions after doing it? It happened with somebody who did Reiki on me. And
Well,
this,
I'll tell you, probably the funnest time I had with Reiki was I was teaching a level 2 class, and I had two friends who were doing it, and they were in my apartment. And so we were practicing beaming Reiki, sending distance Reiki. So two of us were sitting on the sofa, and one was sitting in the chair across the
yep.
table, right? And so we're all relaxed, and she's got her eyes closed and her hands in her lap. Well, I see the shadow come in the window and the shadow turns to gold. And then I see this golden shadow go over to the person we're beaming the Reiki to, and it leans down and is whispering in her ear. And she's like, you know, and then it went over the other side. And she's just, like she's swatting away no-see-ums. And so I just watched and let the shadow talk to her. Obviously, it was benevolent completely. And so then when it was done, it stood up, it kind of, gave me a thank you and walked back out the window. And so I said, I think the Reiki is done. And so so I would say, would you like to share what you experienced and maybe who was visiting us? And she says, it was my aunt and she would not shut up. But what happened is she did say that her aunt told her that she needed to move her daughter back down to Florida quickly. And it turns out that the place that she was going to, her daughter was, as soon as they moved, diagnosed with a potentially fatal illness, and there was the world specialist in that town, so she saved her daughter's life.
Wow.
Mm.
Do you know where that was? Because I'm getting a download here. It's the weirdest. Was it around Tampa?
Sarasota.
That's on the other coast. I'm trying to remember my geo.
Yeah, I can't. I don't. I'm not familiar with
I don't know
Florida.
why, because I've heard of, this one team of doctors, and they're in Tampa, and that came up. Anyway,
Yeah.
what you described, first time I ever had Reiki. All right, I'll give this a try. I didn't even talk to the person. Did we
Hmm.
text? And they said, and they were 1,500 miles away. Said, get in a comfortable spot, 8 p.m. I'll do my thing. I'll message you after I'm done. Yeah, okay, whatever. So I'm laying on the couch, never had it, never did Reiki, whatever. I'm sitting there. I thought I felt something from my feet to my head, and then back down again, but I was like, I don't know, maybe I'm in my head. Just put that to the side. 50 minutes later, I get a text and they say, all right, I'm all done. You let me know how you feel. And they said, by the way, I just want to let you know, I got this picture of you leading me on a little boat, and we're looking in the water at the reeds and the weeds, and you're looking at the sea life pointing stuff out to me. And I don't know what it was, but I figured I'd just share that with you. Well, my Zen is to go kayaking in salt water because I like the sea life. And I actually like it when it's more shallow because you can see more
Yeah.
there. And it was summertime. It's not on social. Where would they have gotten that?
Right. Right. Yeah.
And
Hmm.
I felt better. I felt lighter. There's times where I've had Reiki before, and most of the sessions have been virtual, i.e., you can do it anywhere for anybody.
Sure.
Um, there's been some times where I was dealing with a personal thing, and it was on a Sunday. Come Monday, I wake up, I got complete clarity on the situation. I was like, oh, okay, that's what I need to do. All the pieces are in front of me now. There we go. I feel it. I'm like, I must have gotten good sleep. And I'm like, this is great. I'm like, oh no, it was the Reiki from the day
Yeah.
before. It's amazing what it can do for you. Why does it work? Why do we need it? What is stuck
Because
energy? What's
it
going on?
zeroes it tunes the radio station. That's what I tell my students. You never have to go past Reiki 1 in your training. You still have the Reiki. But Reiki 2, you get the symbols, and the symbols are like tuning to the radio station. And most of the time, we have so stinking much stuff going on. How many gadgets do you have in your presence at this exact moment right
You
now?
can see like
You
you want me to
know?
1, 2, 3, 4,
Yeah.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This is just right here. You
Right.
can't
And
see
they
over
all
here.
want your attention. All want your attention.
There's
So
lights
you've got
and
neurons that are just going like this, going where, So the
mm,
Reiki says where it's almost like in Stranger Things when Elle goes into the sensory deprivation. So she shuts off her other senses. She doesn't hear. She's in the salt water. She's got the goggles on. She's got the blindfold on. And so it completely centers in your attention to that one issue. So you put out to the universe, I need clarity on this issue. Everything else went away. So your full attention, your higher self, your spirit guide, whatever, was solely focused on that issue. And there comes the clarity.
mm. And it's funny that you use the analogy of tuning into a station. Are you tuning into us when you do Reiki?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hmm.
Mm. And what takes place when you listen to the radio or a radio transmitter sends a signal to the radio car, whatever? It is a vibration. That's what creates when the frequency is 106.1 megahertz FM, or if it's AM at 540 kilohertz, it is how fast the signal is vibrating. That's
Hmm.
how it's described in the frequency. And it's the same thing. It's a vibration that's going out. Even when we listen to music, what is music? It's a vibration.
Yeah,
And the little hairs in your ear pick up on the vibration and through a process send it to your brain so we
yeah,
know what we're listening. It's energy, it's a
exactly.
vibration.
And there is a theory called M waves that is how our memory works, that our memories are actually like sound waves. And when you tune into a memory, you're turning the radio station to that thought and pulling back that memory.
I never thought of it that way, but that seems so reasonable.
It absolutely is because the more attention that you focus on something, the more neurons that you're recruiting for it, therefore the increase of the vibrational frequency. And so, yeah, I mean, there's some crazy science behind that. And it's something that my philosophy teacher back in senior year of high school just kind of threw out this memory M wave theory of memory. And I've been studying it and practicing it and training it. So whenever my dad says, I'm like, oh yeah, you remember blah, blah, blah. And he says, how on earth do you remember that? And I'm like, because I don't store it in my head. I turn the radio to it and pull back to that day or that moment or that experience.
Before you said that, I knew you were going to say that because now I'm on your page and now I'm picturing it, how
Yeah,
that could work. You're
yeah,
just it's almost as if you're tuning along a dial to get to that point on the dial. Call it a timeline, energetic
hmm,
timeline, memory, whatever it
precisely.
might be. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Or when you're taking a test. I mean, that's why I'm such a good test taker because if I get all frazzled up about, oh God, is it B or C? Then I just go, wait a minute. I know I've heard this before. Okay, quiet everything around it. Tune the radio station to A, tune it to B, see which resonates, and that's the answer. And the other thing is, if you're in a classroom and everybody's taking the same test, somebody else might be thinking it.
Hmm.
Uh-huh. And you could pick up on that. I've had a couple of embarrassing moments when I was teaching and I would ask a question and I basically hear the student say it, but they didn't say it. And I'm like, you're right. And everybody's looking at me like, what? So yeah, because I'm tuned into that thought, they got it
Oof.
right there and can hear it.
And that could be a
Freaky thing I
challenge.
had once happen to me. I was doing a massage and I was just daydreaming about, hey, this is my last massage before Thanksgiving break. And the client says to me, so what are you doing for Thanksgiving? I'm like, nothing, go back to sleep, you know?
Well, telepathy.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what's going on there. And for another day, this is where the car turns and people look at us and think they're crazy, they're woo. I've communicated with my cats and my dog
Uh-huh.
by thinking something very intentionally. And who better to receive energy than animals because they don't have to worry about mortgage payments, car payments,
Right.
stress, where their next meal is coming from. They're living in your house, all
Yeah.
of that. Oh, and by the way, they got little four pitty paws. They're always grounded. There's no shoes on.
Mhm.
They're doing is receiving their little antennas, receiving everything. So I've sent things and I've gotten things back from them for another day, but
Yeah.
solved problems and issues that they were dealing with. They gave me the answer.
Mhm.
It's crazy, but I talked to an animal communicator that said, do this. And I did, and it works.
I do a lot of work with spirit animals. I connect more with spirit
Ah,
animals and with animals than sometimes with people. And so when I'm working with people, sometimes I'll do it through their spirit animal.
and that's another thing. You can do Reiki on animals.
They love it. They
Mm.
love it.
All right. Press the pause button. We're just about out of time.
Okay.
You run deep when it comes to massage. And I'm learning. The energy Reiki thing here, I know a little bit more about it, and it's fabulous that you're dialed in into all of that. It's so cool. Which, unlike massage, you can do for anybody anywhere,
Yeah.
virtually, Reiki. Best way to find you, how do we do that?
My website, innovaetas.com.
And that's INNOVAETAS.com.
Correct.
Beautiful. Kathryne, thank you for today. Very
Thank
refreshing. And,
you.
and thank you for, whether intentional or not, sending the good energy because I feel it. That's good.
Always. Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. All right, we'll talk soon. We'll be right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.